Good morning, everybody. Good morning to everybody here in Abbas Shalom, our Amud Yomi Shiur, Bava, Metzia, Amud Base. Welcome to our viewers and listeners in Torah Anytime and our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Yeshir's Lu Nishmas Tov Mori, Menachem Ben Akiva, Rus Bas Shalom, Thor Bas Moshe, Ratzlocha, Chen Bas Yardena, and Yosef, Gabriel Yosef Ben Malta, Shua Shleim, they should have. Leilu Nishmas, Hanaresh, Henyaresha, Bas, and Chananitzchak. Okay. Dono Bonon. Amud Beis. The topic we have today at the top of Amud Beis is the topic of overload. We saw in the Mishnah that if a person overloads a donkey, and overloads, we said, is actually agreed upon everyone, although we had an argument regarding how much volume you can add, and it's still not considered excessive overload. But everyone agrees at the end of the Mishnah that if the person overloaded the animal like a donkey with extra weight, and then the animal died, then the person who overloaded it, which is usually the renter, would have to pay for the death or the injury of the chamor, of the donkey. How much can a donkey carry? We said that is 15 soin, which is kur, which is, excuse me, a letter, half a kur, 15 sein, 15 sa. That is how much a donkey can carry. And if you add on top of that, how much? 3 kabin, that's 1/30th, right? Because 15, yeah, half of 15 is 0.5 out of 15 is 1/30th. So then what? That at that point, that's too much. And if anything happens to the donkey, you, the one who overloaded it, are liable to pay. Now, Tono Bonon, Kav, now we're going to see other shiurim. What happens when the person when the one carrying that was hired, that was rented, is not an animal like a donkey, or we said a camel, but it's a different kind of something else. Tono Bonon, Kav le kataf. What's a kataf? Kataf is a person who uses his ketafaim, his shoulders. Basically, it's a porter, it's a schlepper. A porter, it's a person who basically takes things on his kesefaim, on his shoulders. Yeah, he schleps them. Kav lekosov. What does that mean? It means that 1 kav is an excessive amount for the kataf. If you gave the kataf 1 kav too much, then you have to pay if anything happened to the kataf. What do you mean too much? Too much out of what? What's the minimum amount? So Rashi says something very, very simple. Just like in the Mishnah we saw that really the regular, that when it comes to, what's his name, when it comes to a donkey, 1/30th is too much, then you have to pay him if anything happens. So too by the kataf. So how much can a person carry? How much? He can carry shloishim kabim. A person can carry, shloishim kabim, which is 5 sein. It's a third of a donkey. Yes. A donkey can carry 15 sein, a person 5 soim. 5 soim is 30 kav, and therefore, if one entire kav extra, half a kav, 3/4, that's still beseder. But if what complete 1/30th was added to that schlepper, and we're going to see the details later, and you put it on his shoulders, and something happened to him, he broke his back, you have to pay for his medical bills, you have to be responsible for that if you're the one loading him. Aderiv la'areva. Aderiv was a new word for me, I have to admit. Aderiv basically is a letech. A letech, areva. Areva is a small boat. Pay Amud Beis, third line. Yeah, Rabbi. Yeah, pay Amud Beis, third line. Aderiv la'areva. Areva is a small boat. There are 3 sizes of boats, as we're going to see. And the areva, which is the smallest boat, aderiv is a letech, which means if you added an entire letech, which is how much? Which is 15. Yeah, which is 15 saw. That is to say, that is too much. That's an extra. Yeah, which means that really, how much can a regular boat carry? A small boat, 30 letechs. Yeah, which is 15 kol. Yeah, that's a lot. Kol lesfina. A sfina, which is the middle of the road. A sfina is a boat which is not too small, not too big. An entire core would be extra, excessive. And if the boat sinks because of you, it's your fault. And you have to pay for it, meaning how much can a sfina carry? 30 kor. Yeah, 30 kor for a sfina. Shloshes kor in a bur nigdoilo. A bur nigdoilo is a really big ship, a real big boat, a real cargo boat, the big ship, yeah. So such a boat can carry how much? Can carry 3 korim times 30, right? 30 times 3 is what it can carry. That's a lot, right? Because shalosh is the extra 1/3. Yeah, that's 90 ko, right? Yep. 3 times 30. Very nice. Now, yeah, okay. No, 1 second. Shloshes core, which, yeah, can carry a third, yeah, 30 core, excuse me. Can carry 30 core. No, a 30th. No, 90 core. I was right, 90 core. Yeah. It's 1/30th. 30 times 3, it's 90. You can carry 90 core. Wow, it's really, that's a lot. Core is the biggest amount of chazal, always. Omar, now we're going to talk about the kataf. Who's the kataf? That's a schlepper. It's a human being. It's not an animal. He has his own seichel, and I hired him to do some schlepping for me. How much am I supposed to load on his shoulders, and it's still, so to speak, legal? How much? We said I can carry. How much? That is only shloshim kav. I can put shloshim kav. I put the 31st kav, and then he collapsed under the, yeah, at some point later he collapsed under the cargo, under the burden, then I have to pay because I overloaded him. Yeah, I'm the one hiring him. Omar, kav lekosov, frek the Gemara, im isa deloi matzi bay, if he sees at some point that he just can't cope with it, why did he stay with the cargo on his shoulders? Bar dasu, he's a bardas, it's a human being, he has das, yeah, he's a person who can think, he can understand. Lishdei, let him throw it away. In other words, why is it my fault if I loaded him with a cargo, with a burden, and then he realized, oh, it's too heavy. He should put it. He should take it off. He should unload it. He should, yeah, take it off his back and throw it. Yeah. Why did he stay with that cargo? It's his fault. Yeah. What I'm doing now is even less than groma. I put it on him. He should have shed it off his back. Right. He's a human being. By an animal, miskena. The animal can't do it. You know, the animal doesn't realize, doesn't know, so you force it. But the human being, why? Why is it my fault? It's his fault for keeping schlepping it. Omar Abaye, b'shechov toile alta. Abaye says when the person loaded the sabal, the kataf, the schlepper with the extra cargo, right away he fell. And there wasn't enough time to think and realize, oh, that's too heavy. Let me get this off my back. I loaded it on him, and then shrach, he fell. Yeah, he just collapsed, and then that is to say, it's mamish my ma'aseh beyadayim. Says it's not ma'aseh beyadayim mamish, it's giri. The Ritva says it's like my arrows. It's connected to the person who actually loaded it loaded him with extra cargo, and therefore the person who loaded it has to pay. He didn't have time, he didn't have chance to realize what's going on, and he fell right away. Rove Omar, Rove gives you another answer. Even if he didn't fall right away, and you know what? Maybe he didn't fall at all. Maybe he managed, with gritted teeth, he managed to schlep it so hard, even though it's too much for him. Still, there's a difference halachically. The only reason why we mention the extra kav is for the extra money. Oh, here we come to a whole new world. Yeah, extra money. What does that mean? Basically, the Rishonim say as follows. The Ritva says that, and it's also alluded to in other Rishonim, if the person survived it, that's really nice, but you have to pay him extra. When you have the standard payment, however much you promised him, and you loaded him with 15, with shloshim kav, yeah, that's all very nice, you pay him the standard. Once you have exceeded it to one more kav, then the payment is higher, right? Which means between the regular and an entire extra kav, the 31st kav, you don't have to pay him extra. Once you loaded it with the 31st kav, then it's significantly more, and that brings you to a new payment idea. Now the Ritva says that, and others say that also batechamo. That gives us a whole new perspective, which means, let's say you rented a chamor and you overloaded it with how much? Shloisha kavim on top of the 15 kavim, right? Then we say that 15 same, excuse me, 15 same. You added it with half a cell extra, and the chamor, he's an alpha donkey. He managed so well, but lamaisa you loaded it too much. That's already a whole new payment. Yeah, and therefore you have to pay more. The Rambam, I saw the Rambam says something in the middle. The Rambam says that if you overloaded between the minimum and the extra, you have to pay more, even before the full extra. Once it's extra, then of course you have to pay more. And then if the animal died, you have to pay. Right? There are 3 levels. Up to regular, let's say, but the donkey, what's normal? 15 saw. Up to 15 saw, if the animal died, it's not my fault. I did not overload it. Look, there are scales I can show you. Between the regular and the too much and the excessive amount, which is 3 kavin more, I have to pay more. I have to pay more. If I'm found out to give more, I have to pay more. But if the animal dies, I don't have to do anything. Yeah, according to the Rambam. Once I hit the whole excessive amount, which is, let's say, in the case of chamor, 3 kavim, efasea, then if the animal dies, I also have to pay. That's what the Rambam holds. Okay. Ravashi Omar. Ravashi gives us a third answer. Again, what's the question? Let's just, repeat, review, revise a little bit. The question is as follows. As we saw in the Mishnah, the donkey that was overloaded, yeah, and fell apart, collapsed under the burden, then I have to pay for the donkey because I overloaded it, right? And then we say the same applies to a person. Different numbers, a person can carry a third of what a chamor can carry, or a donkey, but if I overloaded the person, I have to pay. The Gemara says, why? Why did it fall apart? Why did the person collapse? He should have taken it off his back. He should have, upload, I don't know. He should have what? He should have taken it off his back. He's a bardas. Why did he stay with it? He brought it upon himself. So we gave two answers. The third answer is Rav Ashi Omar. That's brought down Lalocha. Rav Ashi says, you know why you can't blame the schlepper, but rather the owner, the one who hired him, who placed it on him. Who sovu, the person who, the schlepper, was told, oh, this is regular cargo. He's used to people giving him regular cargoes of how much of shloshim kab, and he thought, oh, this is heavy. Oh, this is heavy. Who should enokitle? Misken, he blamed himself. He thought, today I'm weak. He's a bardas, but he's not necessarily, psychology doesn't necessarily work to blame others, you blame yourself. He says, I realize now I didn't have enough nuts in my cereal this morning. Yeah, I didn't have Popeye's whatever, spinach. Now I realize I'm a little bit weaker. By the time and that's why he's not taking it off. He's trying to brave it. He says it's my fault. I have to do my job. By the time he collapses, it's too late. Oh, when he collapses, it's too late. But you cannot blame him. So who's to blame? The Baal Habais. The Baal Habais overloaded him, and that's unfair. Misinforming him, allowing him to think that this is regular cargo. So the Sabal, the schlepper, thought, oh, it's regular and it's my fault. Kept schlepping it. Then he was injured. Then he fell. And Mimele, now you have to pay. There is a question in the Ramban and Bes Yosef exactly why he has to pay, because it's not a direct nezek. If that's what you want to ask, it's a good question. Yeah. Lamaisa, it's a groma, and maybe it's nezikin of Odom, maybe it's breach of contract. It's not so clear. But if the person it's his fault, generally we understand the idea. If it's a fault of the one who loaded him with the extra, he's the one that has to pay. Give me, 3 more lines until the Mishnah, and then it will be ample time for questions. Now we're going back to the boats. Remember what we said about the boats? There are 3 sizes of boats. Kor lesfina, extra. What's the extra amount of a sfina, which is the middle of the road boat, the middle-sized boat, the medium-sized boat is 1 kor, which means the sfina can carry how much normally? 30 kor, right? Shloshes kor in the bornik doilo. A big borni, a real big ship, a real cargo ship, like the real big ones you sometimes see in the port. Then shloisha kurin is a 30th of what it can carry. And if you put that extra 30th part, you're chayev. So how much is it? 90 kor. Wow, a big boat can carry 90 kor. So you see a regular boat can carry 30 kor, right? The middle of the road, average one can carry 30 kor, as I already told you. The mind of Kamina, why is Rav Papa telling you that? That's an interesting historical fact. And for the Gemara, next time a person wants to sell you a regular boat, he's telling you, no, I know you do export import. I have a boat to sell, not the smallest, not the biggest. How much is it expected to carry? 30 kol. It's supposed to carry 30 kol, and that is it. Mitzad mekach, that is the standard of the middle of the road boat, middle of the sea boat. Before you guys, we're very technological here. The question from Rav Simkin. Does Gemara say 3 kor for big? No, 3 kor is the extra, Rabbi. 3 kor is the extra, which means how much? 3 is 90 kor. 3 kor extra, right, is 1/30th of that, so it's 90 kor. 90 kor, yes. 90 core. No.
3 core is 90 saw.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, 3 cores 90 saw, which means that's the extra. That 3 is the 30th part of the entire thing. That's 90. No? Yeah. Call, not so. Call, for sure. Call. It was uncalled for. What? It's very, very simple. It's very simple. What we got here is the extra. You're not allowed to put extra on a boat, on a camel, on a person, on a donkey, on a kangaroo, whatever thing. Yeah. Elamai, how much is a 30th extra? So whichever number is mentioned here, you have to double by 30, and then you have what the full normal number that it's supposed to carry. But let's pause at this point. There's the Heilige Mishnah. Let's go back to the next Mishnah, yeah, and see a whole new concept here about Arbal Shomrim. I want to give an introduction, which I know you know, but it's very important to see the introduction. I'm sorry people online can't see so well. I don't think so, but let's give us a try. I'm talking about 3 out of the 4 Shomrim. There are 4 Shomrim that the Torah talks about, 4 people who look after stuff for you, 4, I don't know, guardians. Yeah, one of them is the Shoyel. A Shoyel is the person who borrowed. He borrows, you get all the, you pay nothing, you only get all the ano, right? Of course, you have to look after it very well. Who are you to have any opinion here? Therefore, you chayiv inen be'oinsin, even if he was struck by lightning, the item stolen by a terrorist, which you couldn't manage fight against, you always have to pay. That's a shoyl. He has the highest level of chiyuv, of obligation. Shomer sochol is a paid guardian, a paid shomer. His level is higher, not higher than shoyel, because he's not enjoying it, he's not benefiting. However, because he's being paid in order to guard, to look after, his level of he's not a volunteer, his level of shmira, of guarding, has to be decent and high. Therefore, if the item was lost or stolen, which is somewhere between oinsim and complete negligence, he wasn't negligent, but he wasn't super careful. I mean, if they managed to steal it, yeah, means you didn't really lock your doors very well, right? How come it was stolen? What do you mean you lost it? Meaning you're not complete poshea, not complete negligent, but you're not exactly super duper either. That middle level you chayav on. And shomer chinam is the exact opposite of a shoyel. Shomer chinam doesn't benefit anything and only doing you a favor. Yeah, he's guarding, he's looking after the item for no money. He's a volunteer. He does have. This is against Western thinking that people think that volunteers have no chiyuv whatsoever. It's not true. You volunteer for organization, you volunteer for something, you have a commitment. If the shomer chinam, and we're going to discuss that point, accepted upon himself and he said, I will be your shomer chinam, although he's volunteering, but I rely on him. I'm the owner. I rely on the shomer chinam, so some level of chiyuv he has, and that is pshia. If he was completely negligent and didn't look after the item at all in a real negligent way, he has to pay. Yeah, there are 2 Eidim who come and say that he's looking after my sheep, looking after my animals, and while the sheep are grazing, he's very shakua in the smartphone, all the time with this machine. Then what? Then he'll have to pay, right? Because as much as doing it for free, but you have some obligation. I omitted one shomer, very well known, and that is the soicher, the renter, because today the renter will be the star of the show. Yeah, the renter. The soicher is a question. Where do you locate a person who is somewhat shoyel and somewhat not a shoyel? A person borrowed someone's car, yeah, as is very accepted. He borrows the car and he says, I'll pay you for the usage of the car. He's getting use of the car, but he's paying for it. Yeah, he's not like the shoyel, which is a joking aside like a parasite, only enjoying. Yeah, he's not a bloodsucker. He's what? He's paying for the shimush. There's a big machlokes. How do we define a renter, a soicher? Yeah, very good. Don't confuse soicher with shomer socher. I don't think I'll translate all the time. A soicher is a renter. A shomer socher is a paid guardian. Yeah, good. Are we good? Okay. The seder says the Mishnah. Now we're talking about umnin. What's the titles of the perek? Umnin, craftsman. Kola umnin shomer socher hen. A person who received raw material to his house by a client. I'm a very, very fancy choshev, a carpenter. I accept jobs into my house or my workshop. You bring me your wood. I'm not torech with the wood. You bring me your pieces of wood. You won't believe it. In a week's time, you'll see the most magnificent set of tables and chairs. Yeah, wow, wow, wow. After a week, wow, the best table and chairs in town will be crafted Bezos Hashem by me. Now, I'm actually in my house, in my workshop, are what? Your pieces of wood, right? What's my status? What kind of shomer am I? Yeah, out of those three, or maybe four. Yeah, I on purpose omitted one. What kind of shomer am I, yeah, in the eyes? Because I don't get money, I don't get money in order to guard, to look after your wood. I have an interest, and this is important, your wood will be in my house. Because every time I craft another piece of wood, I'm thinking I'm on my way to my $20,000 job, right? To be paid in a week. In other words, I'm very interested. I'm not really doing you a favor here, but I'm not being paid for looking after the wood. So what's my status? I'm getting something from it, but it's not a direct payment per, like a shomer socher, per looking after it. And yet, says the Mishnah, I'm repeating the Mishnah now, Kala umnin shomer socher hen. And uman, by the way, it's a kabbalan. A kabbalan who gets, yeah, it's a project person working by project, by job, and he's a shomer socher. He does have the status of a shomer socher. Of course, the question is why? But he has the status of a shomer socher, the middle of the road guy, and he has to be paid. And if a gneva or a veda happen, he has to pay for that. He's not a shoyel and not a shomer chinam. He's a shomer socher, and we will see why. However, the kulan she'omru, if those people said at some point, tol es shelcho, the havemois, oh, came the day has arrived, mazel tov, the table is beautifully ready, and I tell you, come pick up your table, yeah, and you can pay me later, which means, as far as I'm concerned, my job is done, and I'm not even keeping the table as a collateral for you to pay. You can take the table and you can pay me later. As far as I'm concerned, and this happy note, I'm not my job is done. It stays there. Then is the shomer chinam. At that point, and we'll understand why after the Gemara. At that point, the level goes from shomer socher, meaning, generally speaking, I have no interest in this thing anymore. Right? I'm not using it for anything. The job is done. The choiv is a separate story that he owes me money. That's an under zach, a different thing. Now I'm looking after the table because it is supposed to be by me, and he knows it's by me. So I was now, yeah, downgraded to the level of shomer chinam. All will be explained in the Gemara. Now, another story. Now, by the way, today's Gemara will only deal with these two lines that we saw. From now on, all the other parts of the Mishnah will be dealt with later on in the Gemara. Case number 2. No, yeah. Shmor li ve'shmor lecho. It's not a craftsman. Now the story is Shmor li ve'shmor lecho. You look after my computer today. I look after your phone tomorrow. What's my status? In other words, we barter the shmira. Shmor li ve'shmor lecho. Shomer socho. Each one is a shomer socho. It's not always true. The Gemara will talk about exceptions, but generally speaking, although, yeah, when I'm not getting any money, but I'm getting money's worth. I know very well that what's today? Today's Tuesday. Please look after my phone today. Okay, very nice the whole day. Knowing very well, you know that today look after my phone. Tomorrow I will look after your watch. So you're not doing it really for free. You're doing it knowing that I will pay you barter by what? By looking after your stuff. That's the general idea. Shmarli, now, a third and very important concept here. When does a person become a shomer chinam? Let's say, I'll give you a small story introduction. Which words or which action, and that's a big sugya, really defines the person as a shomer? I'll ask you a question, and we had that in Bava Kama, and we'll see in the Gemara how Bava Kama and Bava Metzia merge very nicely. Let me ask you the following question. Let's say it's after Shachris, and you all know after Shachris I'm in a rush to start giving the shiur, and I'm rushing to breakfast, and my computer is here, and I tell Ellen, can you look after my computer? Yes, yes. And you go like, like you don't say no. You said, I didn't say look at it. He says, here's my computer, here, watch my computer, please. And you go like, okay. Does it mean to say that you really accepted upon yourself to be the shomer? Are you saying, okay, you don't mind that it's here? No, I'll give you a better example. I run down the stairs, up the stairs in my building, and I want my computer to stay by my neighbor, and I tell him, hey, whatever, Reuven, yeah, look, can I put my computer here in your house? And he goes like, yes. Does it mean he accepted shmira? No. Why? He says yes, that he doesn't mind that my computer is in his house. And if his bull gores the computer, remember in Bava Kama, he won't be liable, right? Yeah, in other words, no, not that he won't be, on the contrary, then he will be liable because he allows my computer to be there. He will be liable. But it does mean he accepted Shmira. He's okay with the computer being there. But he didn't say, I will be your shomer, right? To accept the title, the definition, the responsibility of being a shomer chinam, you have to say something or do something. What is that? Says the Mishnah. Shmoirli, I ask the person, I ask your parents, please look after my computer in your house. The Omar Li, you told me, Hanach lefonai. You said, okay, put my computer in front of me. Not put the computer there in the corner or in front of my whatever, my cat. Hanach lefonai, put the computer in front of me. Although you didn't say mefurish, I'll be the shomer, but he said put it here within my eyesight. Then he's a shomer chinam. Already at that point, is considered he accepted upon himself the responsibility of the shomer chinam. No question, simply because that will be discussed extensively, not today. That's just a general picture. To say put it in front of me means the person says it's tantamount to saying I'll be your shomer chinam. Now another case, ilvao ala mashkoin. Oh, regular case. A person lent money. Reuven lent money to, of course, Shimon. Very nice, very nice. Now Shimon gave him a mashkon. What's a mashkon in English? Collateral. Now Reuven is holding the collateral, and what? He's looking after the collateral, right? As long as the item was, as long as the money wasn't yet paid the debt, then he's a shomer of the collateral. What kind of shomer is he? Chinam sochar? Grandma, what kind of shomer is he? Says the Mishnah Machloikes, shomer socho. Why is it shomer sochar? Because it's a schar mitzvah. Interesting. In other words, he lent money. It's a mitzvah. It's a big mitzvah to lend money to people. Chofetz Chaim, already the Rambam, to lend is a very big mitzvah. Kesef Talvis Ami. So the fact that you at this moment, why did you get this those candlesticks over here? Because it was a loan of 10,000 shekels. So the candlesticks are by you, right? They didn't come to you out of nowhere. So because you lent 10,000 shekels, it's such a huge mitzvah, you consider that the shomer socher responsibility is higher. That's what the Nakama says. Schar mitzvah is looked at as something physical and real in the Choshen Mishpat financial world. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no. Ilva mois shomer chinam, says Rabbi Yehuda, schar mitzvah in olam haba. Schar mitzvah is not something tangible in terms of, it's very, very choshev, I think, more choshev than olam hazeh. Yeah, olam haba, the best zach, a good zach. But lemaisa, the shomer chinam is what it is, because he's not getting any money or any physical pleasure here or anything. Yeah, he's getting the mitzvah in olam haba. That is not called shomer socher. However, that's if you lent money. Ilvau peiros shomer socher. Now this is very interesting. I looked high and low until a sefer called Chavrusa explains it. Ilvau peiros. If I lent my friend's fruit, usually peiros are wheat, but let's imagine yourself other fruit. I lent my friend what? You know, one neighbor needs, she makes some kind of cake. She's asking her friend, please lend me 1 kilo of tomatoes. Tomatoes. Whichever, apples, tomatoes. I know tomatoes or tomatoes. Yeah, it does make a difference. Yeah. So now, yeah. So she lent her. And if a person lends his friend Paris, he's gaining something real in Olam Hazeh from that. What is that? So I saw in the Chavrus, I didn't quote the earlier Meforshim, says as follows. It's something very cool. Why do you lend? Why do you so happily lend the Paris that you have? Yeah. Today, people can buy things very easily. In the past, it wasn't like that. You only lend that if you really need those apples right now, yeah, or those tomatoes right now for the next recipe, you wouldn't lend them. You lend them because you don't really need them right now. Give them back tomorrow, give them back in a week. Now, pears tend to rot. That's what Rashi and all the Rishonim say. So Lamaisi, you're gaining something. The neighbor who borrowed it, he or she, will use it now. They'll give you next week fresh ones. It's not, I was thinking about it, it's not ribis, because Lamaisa, you gave her fresh and you get back fresh, except for a saw basaw. Potentially, I don't know, I hear what you're saying about ribis. Potentially, because the tomatoes and the cucumbers and the pineapple are on their way down, nice and slow, bimela, I'm gaining that kilo, they're kept fresh, so to speak, by the neighbor. He will eat them up, she will make the recipe, and then I'll get new ones. So, ribis may be a question interesting, but Lamaisa, because this is a matzav of I'm getting something real, that I'm refreshing, kilo turnover of the fruit, that's called shomer socher. One more line and I'll be with your questions. Abba Shaul Omer. Abba Shaul is saying something very interesting here, something very socialist, very Baal Chesed. Rashai Odom Lahaskir Mashkoin Shel Oni. Let's say you lend to a poor person 10,000, 20,000 shekels, and you know it's really hard for him to really pay it back. And you actually want to do him a favor. What do you do as a favor? You take the mashkon, he gave you his one and only set of fancy candlesticks, the heirloom, okay, worth 10,000. Okay, now you have the one of the Oni. You're allowed to rent them out repeatedly to people. Rent a candlestick, rent a thing, and every time, what do? You keep the money, and that is how you pay off the debt. Yeah, Leos poisik voilich olo. In other words, yeah, they're worth 10,000. Every week I'll rent out the fancy candlesticks for next simcha for 1,000 shekels. Over 10 weeks, I'll get back the 10,000. That's not ribis. Why? Because I got paid the 10,000, nothing more, and then I return the candlesticks. That's actually a very nice thing to do. This way, the oni doesn't have to pay. I'm making sure I'm being paid through the mashcoin. I'm activating the mashcoin to every time be a gold mine, be a chicken that lays the golden eggs. How can I use someone else's? What do you mean? I'm doing a favor to him. I'm Meshiva Veda. I'm returning to him the lost object, meaning I'm allowing him to pay in a more convenient way. I don't mind asking questions. I'm just saying most of this Mishnah will be dealt with later, but I'll be hearing your question now. Yes, weiter. Says the Gemara. Oh, so we're now relating to the first part of the Mishnah. The first part of the Mishnah said that a person who is an uman, what's an uman? A craftsman, who got someone else's material, raw material to work with, is the status of a shomer sochar. Now, you tell me, why do you think is a shomer sochar? Before we go on, why do you think is a shomer sochar? He's not being paid for looking after the wood, but he has. Very good. He gets paid, not exactly, yeah, he'll get paid for doing the job. He's now working for a week for what? On this piece of wood to make it into a nice table. He's not doing it for free. He's going to get nice money for it. And therefore, that is what I would call an indirect sachar, indirect compensation. Very good. And that's why it's called the shomer socho. Lema misnisin, let us say that our Mishnah deloiki Rabbi Meir. It looks like our Mishnah does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Meir, and that's not good. Why? Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. More in Sanhedrin, yeah. Mishnah usually is like Rabbi Meir. Mishnah, I think it's Sanhedrin Pevov. Yeah, and that's not good. Which Rabbi Meir? What are you talking about? The Tanya. It says in the Brisa. Soicher ketzad mishalem. Oh. The Teire in Pashas Mishpatim it discusses Shoyel, Shomer Socher, Shomer Chinam, and it conveniently ignores Soicher. The Torah doesn't tell us what's halacha if somebody borrows for money, which we call to rent. Soicher ketzad mishalem. What's the status of a Soicher? This, that, or the other. Answers the Mishnah later on, the Daf and the Gimel. Rabbi Meir Omer Keshomer Chinam. Rabbi Meir says it's Shomer Chinam. Why is he a Shomer Chinam? I can understand it very easily. Why is he a Shomer Chinam? Because Lamaisa, you balance out, you borrowed, right, the item, but you sure like a shoyel, but the fact you're enjoying it is cancelled out, is evened out by your payment. Yeah. I'm renting Avis's car every day worth, I don't know, 50 shekels, yeah? And I'm paying 50 shekels. At the end of the day, everything's balanced out. I got 50, I gave 50, 50 minus 50, I think is 0. Therefore, it's a shomer chinam. Of course, it's a shomer, he's officially in the picture, but it's a shomer chinam. That's what Rabbi Meir says. All very nice. Now, Rabbi Yehuda Omer keshomer socho. Oh, ay. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say there's like a shomer socho? And that's why I made this whole chart. He's saying that a soicher, he connects soicher to being a shomer socho. Yeah, that is what Rabbi Yehuda says. That's Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Meir says he's a shomer chinam. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say that he's a shomer socher? I'll tell you why. Says Rashi, and again, this is almost the first time that's the first time I really understood the svara since always, and that is like this. Says Rabbi Yehuda as follows: listen, you are a shoyel. You are benefiting from the car, whoa, driving it like a Michigan Yeshiva Bachor all over the country. You're having a lot of fun with my item. Are you paying? It doesn't completely balance it out. The fact you call hano a shaloi, you get 100% of the hano when you rent it, right? You get a house for rent. I don't know if a house is the same thing, but you live there, do whatever you want almost, with maybe some stipulations. Now, the fact you pay for it means you are a shayel minus. A shayel which gets all the hano doesn't pay for it. That's a real, excuse my language, parasite. he has to pay even for Einstein. No mercy for him. He has to pay for anything that happens. You are a shoyel, a bit better than the shoyel. You're a shoyel plus dollar sign. You're shoyel that does pay money. That takes you one level below the shoyel. You become a shomer socho. But you still are considered to be what? Somebody that has a higher obligation. Because you're benefiting from it, you have higher obligation, although not the highest, because you're paying. True. But that payment doesn't necessarily completely even it out. It means you're a better version of the shoyel, and now you're considered like a shomer socho, but gneva v'aveda, you have to pay. You won't be exempt from gneva v'aveda. That is one opinion. Now, the other one, Rabbi Meir says no. Rabbi Meir says, no, shomer chinam. Why shomer chinam? Rabbi Meir says, listen, Lamaise, I'll give you another idea of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, and this is the main point here, Rabbi Meir says, listen, I'm a squarehead, I'm a straight-laced guy. You know what? That's very, very important I'm about to tell you. This you have to hear for the entire sugya. Says Rabbi Meir, you know what's a shomer socher? Shomer socher is the person who gets what? Paid for looking after it. The socher is not being paid for looking after it. No. Right? Nobody pays the socher to look after. It's true that the socher has benefits, but he's not getting paid to look after. I view shomer socher as one tunnel vision. Shomer socher, my Rebbe in Cheder taught me in Kita Daled, is somebody who looks after my stuff without benefiting and gets money. That's my shomer socher. Leave me alone. That's l'chor what Rabbi Meir says. Now we get what the Mishnah is against Rabbi Meir. What did the Mishnah tell me? You were correct, Ellen. What did the Mishnah say? Listen, a guy got the wood into his house, or the silk, or whatever that is, the raw material, in order not to look after, in order to craft it, to make it into something. He's not being paid to look after it. He's being paid to work on it and create a beautiful creation. And next week he'll get $500,000. Oh, in other words, the Mishnah says that such an uman is a shomer socher, even though it's not exactly being paid in a very squarehead way to be paid for the shmira. So Rabbi Meir doesn't seem to be our Mishnah. I'll repeat the question. The Mishnah says that there is, I'd call them unique indirect shomer socher. Shomer socher can mean somebody who gets a side benefit. You said very nicely. He's not being paid for looking after. He's being paid for working, right? And yet the Mishnah does call it shomer socher. Yet Rabbi Meir doesn't believe in all these, by the way, indirect business. Rabbi Meir is very, tunnel vision. Rabbi Meir says shomer socher means what? Means if you get paid for looking after shomer socher, a soicher. That's not his case. It's all balanced out. It's a shomer chinam. So l'chayra, our Mishnah doesn't follow Rabbi Meir. Why is it such a disaster? It's a problem. As we'll see later on, usually a Mishnah, an anonymous Mishnah, usually follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir. So we don't like it that our Mishnah is not Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir should have told us, or the Mishnah should have told us, that it did Rabbi Meir, that an uman who's not being paid directly for looking after is what? Is a shomer chinam, like Rabbi Meir. And yet the Mishnah said shomer socher. That's a question. We are going to be a little bit miserly with the questions now, but you can now ask. I'm not sure about later. What the Gemara will try to do now, a few attempts to differentiate between soicher, don't get confused here, and an uman. Yeah, an uman is a shomer socher, even though there's no direct payment. However, soicher is not a shomer socher, and the question is why. We'll have to now differentiate and see. That will be the mission. Now, continues the Gemara. Answers the Gemara, attempts to answer. Even Rabbi Meir would work with our Mishnah. Even Rabbi Meir can work with our Mishnah and admit, like you're trying to say, that an uman is considered a shomer socher because he is getting something real and tangible. And you know what? Psychological hana is a lot. Psychological hana is worth money. As opposed to schar mitzvah, which is very ethereal and ruchniistic, people paid a lot of money to get all kinds of covered. People pay psychology to say sometimes, I heard once people say, even if the person does give you advice, they go to the person, just somebody should listen to them. Yeah. What is that? You didn't get anything tangible, right? Not even an eitzah. You go to the guy and you pour out your heart and you get 500 shekels an hour. The people pay just for the good feeling. Yes, they do. Zok the Gemara. In light of that, says the Gemara, Ba'ia no, with that, why is the uman, the craftsman, the kabbalah, is a shomer socher, even according to the more square-head opinion of Rabbi Meir? Ba'ia no, because shovik kul alma, that guy, you know who he chose to make his fancy table? That rich guy, He left Shavik. He left everybody else. You know how many carpenters are in town? 10 carpenters. You know who he chose? Shavik Kulam. He left everyone alone, did not hire them. The Agir Leila Didei. He only chose me, and only me. Whoa. Aviluya Shemer Sochor. That alone is considered something you'd pay for. So besides the fact you're being paid for working, which is not called Shemer Sochor, but the actual Shmira, so to speak, the actual having it in your house, and you were chosen, that extra bit is considered to be Sachar, even though you're not being paid for the Shmira. Not like we thought before. You're not being paid for the Shmira, but there's an extra Hano that exists by an Ummah that does not exist by a Soicher. A Soicher wasn't chosen. That's why Soicher, Stam, a Soicher, it's all balanced out. The Shenkin and Uman has an extra Hano, besides being paid at the end of the week 20,000 shekels for the table. Also, yeah, the fact that right from the start he was chosen is already Kilo was given money, Stamazoi. That's an extra Hano, and that makes him a Shomer Socher, even according to Rabbi Meir, which does not exist by Soicher. True, but by Soicher it doesn't exist. That's by Soicher is still called Shomer Chinam. We're trying now not to talk about everything. Have in mind two boxes. Your mind should have the two windows, two boxes. Uman and a Soicher. And Uman is a paid one, and a Soicher is not called a paid one. However, the Gemara right away deflects it. The Gemara now is going to reject it and says, if so, no. Soicher Nami, I wouldn't say it's always true, but sometimes a Soicher also, the guy who wants to rent you out a car. Now, have in mind the following story, because it's very hard for us Westerners to realize that. Imagine yourself the following scenario. Before I continue, I want to avoid questions here. Let's imagine, in the past, they didn't have Avis or Hertz or such mogul businesses. Let's say there's one rich guy in Koilel, and he has two cars. He has two cars that he rents out. What a big business, yeah? Now, you know how many Avrechim who don't have cars? You know how many of them are interested in those interesting 3 weeks between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Chodesh Elul? From some reason, everybody then wants to rent a car. All 50 Avrechim of the Koilel, they all jump on Reuven, the big businessman who has two cars. And out of all 50 Avrechim who all go to the Golan, to the Tzimmerim, yeah, he chose only Yehuda and Naphtali. Whoa. Yehuda is a very responsible guy, and Naphtali is the son of the Rosh Koilel, whatever. For whichever reason, he chose only these two. They also have a no. He comes home to his wife. Yeah, darling. I was the one who got the car out of all the Avrechim for Mr. Rent a Car. So you also have a similar idea of psychology there too. How do you know you don't? Frag the Gemara. If so, Soicher Nami, Soicher also. He left behind all other potential renters. This is not Avis. He has one car, one donkey, one computer. Umugar leledide. He rented out only to this guy. If you consider that psychological no as something strong enough and good enough, and you are right, Baruch, it is. But if you said that makes him Shomer Socher, then it's wrong, because it should apply to a Socher as well. Elamai, we're back to square one. The Rabbi Meir does believe in all these esoteric things. He believes it's worth money, but you're still not being paid for the Shmira. We're back to the old formula. The Rabbi Meir is very, very straight and narrow. Shomer Socher means like I was taught in Kita Dalid. You what? You look after it, and you get paid money for looking after. So the Mishnah is difficult, because the Mishnah is telling me Azoi that an Uman who doesn't get paid to look after, he gets paid for the work, is also Shomer Socher, and it's not good with Rabbi Meir, and it's bad because Tam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Ella, second attempt, which will fail. Ella, Afilo Teima Rabbi Meir. Even if you tell me Rabbi Meir, the Mishnah could work with Rabbi Meir. Which means we're trying to work now more with real money. When a person gets paid per job, yeah, how does he calculate the job? I know it from people that I know personally. Yeah, you make a cheshbon how many hours it's going to take, how many words am I going to translate, whatever, and then he gives you like a bulk sum. Yeah, let's say you're supposed to translate a 500-page book. Yeah, she does all kinds of calculations, but at the end of the day, it's always a little bit more. In other words, the guy who crafts a table, yeah, is still being paid per hour, but it's not per hour. It will always be a little bit more than the per hour payment, right? It takes a bit of extra on the whole thing together. That extra bit is considered schar. Yeah, in other words, besides the schar of working per hour, yeah, he gets paid the global payment, and that extra bit of money is something that the craftsman, the Uman receives, and that makes him a shomer sachar on top of the other sachar he gets for the actual toil of working with his hands. And that makes him shomer sachar, which does not exist by soicher. The soicher doesn't get paid at all. He pays the rent a car. Again, the Gemara rejects it. The Gemara says, no. Soicher nami. Soicher could be same thing the other way. Milo askina the kamashvi letfei purta. A soicher many times, without realizing, he pays a little bit less. The Rashi says, ifshal etzamtzem. You can't always really be mitzamtzem the time and the minute. Yeah, you go back to Avis 9 instead of 8:55. They don't charge you more, right? You always get a little bit more from the schirus. So there too, maybe it's a schar. Elamai, Ela, and now we come to the pinnacle. Now we come to the real answer. Afilu tema Rabbi Meir. Our Mishnah could follow Rabbi Meir, and yet, why is there a shomer socher here? No, the tafis leya agrei. Which means, as some people know, freelancers know, and sometimes, unfortunately, people also who are paid workers, that sometimes to chase after the money you deserve takes a long time. Yeah, is anybody nodding with agreement? Yeah. In other words, it takes time. You can get the kishkas until the person you did a job for and you finished your job last year, and now, yeah, you call him for 20th time, and he'll pay you another time. So now, this guy, the craftsman who has the wood in his hands, he will not release the wood, now shaped like a fancy table, as opposed to the second case in the Mishnah. In the first case, he's saying, your job is ready, and once I'll see the transfer in the bank, 100%, I will give you the table. That is great hano. This guy has great advantage over other people, and it's punkt because he's a shar, it's in his house. Because it's in his house, yeah, don't enter my house before paying, right? And don't take your table. Oh, that I'm translating now from Aramaic. The tofis le'agre, he's holding on to his own salary. He doesn't have to start going in and out and emailing and WhatsApping and calling, where's my salary? Where's my money? Where's my geld? That hano is worth a lot of money as of itself. Besides the fact he'll get paid the 20,000, I would pay people to what? Collect my salary. He has that hano, self-collecting salary. That is an extra no, and that does not exist by soicher. Soicher doesn't get paid any salary. Now we found the difference. Now we played spot the differences. Very good. Let's summarize. Again, Rabbi Meir's of opinion, I'm not going to show the whiteboard again. Rabbi Meir's of opinion that what? The soicher is a shomer chinam. Why? He's not getting paid. He's getting hano. He's paying for the hano. It's balanced out, right? He's getting the fun of driving and doing. Says Rabbi Meir, I don't see that fun. Thank you. He wasn't paid for driving, for looking after. You're not paying for looking after something. That's not shomer socher. What's with the Mishnah? Is a Mishnah against Rabbi Meir? Because the Mishnah is also talking here about something funny and indirect. What did the Mishnah say? If you are not looking after, if you are taking care of my wood, crafting it beautifully into a table, I'm paying you for stabilizing my wood, right? I'm not paying you for, and yet it's a shomer socher. Why? It's not a direct payment for shmira. I'm not paying him to look after it. I'm paying him to change it, making something else. So is he a shomer socher? And says the Gemara, yes, he is a shomer socher. As opposed to soicher, the craftsman who holds in his house. Did you see that the Mishnah said? Sorry, Rashi says it's in their house. It's in my house. Your wood, which became a table, is in my house. I'm not going to release it, not even 1 millimeter out of my house. Not even one drawer, not even one tiny chair before you pay me in full. That hana is really worth money. When he got the wood into his house, it's as if he got money into his hands because now he knows he has security. That's a real thing. It's not an intangible, fuzzy thing. It's very real. And that makes him a shomer socher. The knowledge that that wood is entering the person is forcing the client to pay him. That is called very real money. Believe me, I know people who would pay for that, and therefore that makes him a shomer socher. Ad kana kofa aleph. Now comes Boksha. We're very good with the time. I can hear your questions in 1 minute. Iboy seima. Now comes a very short and sweet answer, which twists everything around. Alternatively, Iboy seima. Kedemachlif Rabba Baravua Vitani. Rabba Baravua switched the opinions. What does he say? Socher ketzer mishalem. What's halacha b'socher Does he pay Gniva Aved L'Kashem Socho, or is it L'Kashem Chinam? Rabbi Meir Omer Kashem Socho. Rabbi Meir says that a Socher is a Shemer Socher. What we thought before was Rabbi Yehuda is really Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Kashem Chinam. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, Rabbi Yehuda is the one who said Shemer Chinam. Why are we so happy? Because Enechnami, you know what? You don't have to twist and turn. The Mishnah that said that Umnim are Shemer Socher, the follow opinion of Rabbi Meir. Because Rabbi Meir said the Socher is also Shemer Socher. And the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehuda. And that's better, because we did not break the rule of Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Questions? The shiur is over. Thank you very much. But it's time for questions. Thank you, everyone here. You can ask your questions now. To our anytime viewers, thank you for watching us and our YouTube channel. Yes, great day. Thank you. I know.